So this lesson, 10.7, Composite Figures, you're going to be using all the formulas that we've used so far. So get your notes, and the first thing I want you to write in your notes is 10.7 and composite figures. And you're going to learn to find the area of composite figures. So a composite figure, it's just made up of simple shapes, like when you draw a house. So when you draw a house, you draw a square, and then what do you put on top? You put a triangle. Composite figure. So here's the definition again. Okay, it's made up of two or more simpler figures such as triangles and quadrilaterals. Okay, I'm going to erase a little bit of this, and this is what I need you to put in your notes first under this lesson. So under 10.7 composite figures, I need you to put okay, so a rectangle. The formula is length times width. Okay, and then square is side times side. And then a parallelogram is base times height. And then a triangle is 1/2 times base times height. And the last one is the trapezoid, probably the most confusing one of the group. So that one is 1/2 times the sum of your two bases times your height. Copy those down because you don't want to be searching through your notes for all the formulas. That way you have them on one page because you're going to need them for this lesson when you go in to do the Think Central homework assignment. Remember, you can pause this at any time too. All right, so here's an example of a composite figure. The steps on how to solve it are on the next slide. So this is an entryway into an amusement park, and it's made up of three different shapes. It's made up of two rectangles, two triangles, and a square. So what they want you to do is they want you to find the area of all of that. So what we're going to do is we're going to go on to the next slide because it breaks it down for you. Okay, so the first thing it looks at, so I have 4 steps I got to follow here. So the first step is find the area of the rectangles. So remember, what's your formula? Length times width. So this is simple. It's length 40 times 4. So I'm going to go length times width, so I'm going to go 10 times 4. And so the area of just one rectangle is 40, which means the other one is 40 as well. So it says find the total area of the two rectangles. So it's 2 times 40 because you have 2 rectangles. So it's 80 total. Okay, so you're going to come back and use that number later. Next step is you want to find the area of the triangles. So here's your formula, 1/2 times base times height. So here's your formula. Here's your triangle. You're going to notice the height is 4. Now if you come over and you look at this right here, this looks like a little eye, represents the height of the triangle. Okay, and so the base is 4 as well, because if this side is 4, then this side is 4, because opposite sides are the same. So it's 1/2 times 4 times 4. Base times height. So now it's up to you how you want to do this. So like let's say we multiply 4 times 4 and we get 16. Then that means you need to half it. What's half of 16? 8. So you get 2 times 8 and you get 16. And what did okay, so that's your triangle. Sorry. Now we're going to do the square. Our square is side times side, or side squared, so side times side. So that's every side is 4. So you're going to go 4 squared. That means 4 times 4. So then it means it's 16. Okay, now the next thing you need to do is you need to add them all up. So they've already done the rectangles. They've already written down the rectangles. The rectangles altogether are 80. Then you have the 2 triangles, which is 16. And then you also have the square, which is 16. So I would add these two first because I know 16 and 16 is 32. So then I just have to add 32 to 80. Okay, and I'm going to get 112 feet squared. Okay, and there you go. So the entire area of all of this here, all of this is 112 feet squared. All right, next slide. So here's another composite figure. And let's follow the steps. What do we have here? We have a triangle, we have a square, and we have a trapezoid. So the first thing it's asking you to do is the area of the triangle. And here's your formula: 1/2 times base times height. So let's look at our triangle. The height is 12 here, because see, if this side is 12, then this side is 12. And this side right here represents the height of the triangle. Now, this number right here, you don't even need. You can just get rid of it. You should be putting some of these examples in your notes too, for help, for when you get to Think Central, because it's going to be the same, or it's going to be similar problems. And I had a little typo here that I need to fix, because we're doing 10.7. All right, so the base is 16 and our height is 12. So now we just need to go through and solve this. Probably what I would do is I would actually simplify the 1/2 times 16. So 1/2 times 16. In other words, you're dividing it by 2, you're halving 16. So this makes 8. So then you just need to tell me what 8 times 12 is, which is 96. Okay, next up you have a square. Here's your square right here. And your square is 12 times 12, because remember, squares are side times side. So it's 12 squared. So that means just 12 times 12, which is 144. And then we have the final one we have is the trapezoid, the one that we don't want to do, but we gotta. Okay, so up here, this is 9. It's kind of hard to see, and this is 12. Okay, these are my two bases right here. Your bases are parallel of each other. Okay, they're your bases. So the first thing you want to do is you want to add up your bases. So you want to add up 12 and 9. So we have 12 and 9. And then our height is this line inside, 6. So you're going to add up 12 and 9, which is going to make it 21. Here, okay? So then you're going to put 21 here. So then you're going to want to multiply 21 times 6. And that's pretty easy to do. You get 126. Then you need to take 126 times 1/2, because you can't forget that. You still have to half it. So that means all you're doing is just halving it, or dividing it by 2. Okay, and you're going to get 63. Okay, so for your trapezoid, your area is 63. So let's go back and see what we have. We have 96 for the triangle. We have 144 for the square, and the trapezoid is 63. So now you want to add all this stuff up. I would just do 2 at a time. I'm going to go back to my red, maybe. Okay, so I get 144 plus 96. Okay, I'm going to add that up, and I get 240. Then I'm going to add 63 to 240. Okay, and I get 303. So 303 centimeters squared. Okay, next one. And remember, at any time you can pause and go back so you can take notes, whatever works for you. Okay, so the next one, we have a square and we have a rectangle. But this one we do a little bit differently, because what it's asking you to do is it's actually asking you to find the area of the shaded region. So the shaded region is all of this. It wants to know what's the area of that shaded. Well, in order to find it, you have to find the area of both. Now, they try to kind of trick you a little bit here, because as you're going through, let me erase this. Okay. as you're going through, everything's in inches except for this one. So if you're not paying attention, you might miss this right here. It says 1 foot equals 12 inches. So you're actually going to get rid of that, and you're going to put 12 inches. Okay, so now the first thing we want to do is we want to find the area of the whole entire thing. Pretend like that little white square inside isn't even there. So that means we're going to do 12 times 6. So 12 times 6, 72. Okay, next we want to find the area of the little square inside. So that's 3 times 3, or 3 squared. So 3 times 3, which is 9. Now, in order to find the shaded, you have to take away that little white square. And you know that the area of that little white square is 9 inches squared. So you're going to come to step 2. You need to subtract the area of the square from the area of the rectangle. So that means you're going to say, what do we have? We have 72 minus 9. So you're going to go 72 minus 9, and you should get 63. And you get 63 inches squared. Okay, there's another one, I believe, in a couple slides. Okay, so this one kind of looks similar to the one from the beginning, but less shapes. It's just 2 rectangles and a triangle. So first thing you want to do is you want to find the area of just one rectangle, because once you know one rectangle, you know both of them. So the height, or not the height, but the length of the rectangle is 10. Okay, so then your length times width, so it's 10 times 5, so 10 times 5, 50. Now you have 2 of them, so 2 times 5, which is 100. Okay, so together, this is 50 and 50. Now, here comes the tricky part. It's the base of the triangle, this right here. Okay, the base is not 3, because that arrow is only referring to just this little section right here is 3. But then this little section right here is 5, and this little section right here is 5. So if you notice, look over here, the base is 5 plus 3 plus 5 for a total of 13. So now you know your base is 13. So you're going to go 1/2 times, what did I do here? Oh, I think I forgot to erase something. I started to do this lesson and realized I messed up, so I might not have erased everything from the last time. Okay, so here's the formula for our triangle. 1/2 times base times height. So our base is 13. Our height is, if you're wondering, that's your height, the 4 feet. So the height is 4. Okay, so what I might do is, here's one way you can solve this. You can go 13 times 4. Okay, and you're going to get 52. So this makes 52. So 52 times 1/2 means you're going to divide it by 2. So you're going to take 52, and you're going to figure out what half of that is. Should be 26. And you're going to get, oops, I turned my eraser on. I do that sometimes. Okay, so you get 26. So now, go back. What's the area of your 2 rectangles? It's right here. So you're going to put 100. And then you have the area of your triangle, 26. So you're going to get 126 as your final answer. I like the blue. I think I'm going to switch to blue from red for the break. Okay, so next up, you have 2 shapes here in number 2. You have a trapezoid, and you also have a parallelogram. So remember, for a parallelogram, it's base times height. This is your parallelogram, base times height. So what you're going to do is you're going to take 11 times 8.2. And for the sake of things, for the sake of time, I got my calculator here. So we're going to go 11 times 8.2. And we're going to get 90.2. Okay, so I'm going to erase really quick. Okay, so this right here, my parallelogram, it's 90.2. Now, my trapezoid. So remember the formula for the trapezoid. I'm going to change colors. So my trapezoid here. Okay, so it's 1/2 times the sum of my two bases times my height. So my two bases, right away the first thing I want to do is I want to add up my two bases. These are my bases. Your bases are always parallel. So it's 11 plus 8, so I'm going to get 19. So right now I have 1/2 times 19 times, what's my height? My height is 4. Okay, so the first thing I would do is I would multiply these two. 19 times 4. Okay, and you're going to get 76. So you still have to do 1/2 times 76. So in other words, divide 76 by 2. So you're going to take 76 and you're going to divide it by 2. And you're going to get 38.0. I did that just because now I need to add them both up. So I have 90.2 and I have 38.0. And I get 128 and 2/10 millimeters squared. That's my final answer. Okay, next step, number 3. First, you have a rectangle. So take care of your rectangle. So take care of this rectangle here. Rectangle, length. So we're doing length times width. So that means you're doing 12 times 7. Okay, let me make it, maybe I can do it a little bit neater. Okay, so we're going to do length times width because it's a rectangle. So 12 times 7. And you get 84 meters squared. Okay, so we got the rectangle. Now we need to figure out the triangles. Now we know the height of the triangle. The triangles, for the height, it's 5. And these two triangles are congruent. They're identical. So once I know one, then I know the other. But I don't know my base for my triangle. And 6 is not my base. It's part of my base, but it's not my entire base. My triangle ends right there. So I have this dotted line right here. What's the value of that? Well, okay, so I want you to think about this. This whole thing, this whole part from here all the way to here is 12. Okay, so this is right in the middle, so I want you to half 12. What's half of 12? It is 6. So then, okay, so if I do half of 12, it's 6. So then that means this side is 6 and this side is 6. So then, using a different color here, what's my base? My base is going to be 6 plus 6. So it's going to be 12. Now, they give you the 13. You don't need it. You don't need this 13. It's of no use to you, at least at this stage. Okay, so now we would need to figure out the area of our triangle. So it's going to be 1/2 times base times height. Okay, so our base is 12, our height is 5. So, so 1/2 times 12 times 5. So honestly, what I would do is I would simplify this right here, the 1/2 times 12. In other words, what's half of 12? Half of 12 is 6. So 6 times 5, you get 30. So then that means that this triangle is 30 and this one is 30. So add those two up. 30 plus 30, you get 60 plus your rectangle, 84. So you get 144 meters squared. Okay, last two. And I've given you all the formulas right here. Again. So I'm going to look at number 4 as though there's 3 shapes here. A triangle, and a rectangle. So I want to figure out my rectangle, and remember your rectangle is length times width. So I'm going to go 16 times 6. Okay, and you're going to get 96. So in here is 96. Now look at this triangle here. The base is 16. So we're going to go 1/2 times 16 times 8. Okay, so the first thing I would do is I would simplify. What's half of 16? Half of 16 is 8. So then you're going to go 8 times 8, and you're going to get 64. So let's see, what do we have so far? So we have 96, 64, and we just have to figure out that one final triangle. Well, you don't need this 10. That 10, you don't need it. So, but you do need the height for your triangle, and your height is 6. And I know that because this side is 6, so then this side is 6. So you're doing 1/2 times your base, which is 8, times your height, which is 6. Okay, so now this is what I would do. I would simplify, and I would half the 8. What's half of 8? 4. So then you have 4 times 6, which is 24. So this is 24. So then what you need to do is you need to add them all up. So it's up to you the order you want to add them up on, but I'm going to go 96 plus 64. So we get 16. So we get 160, and then we're going to add 24. Okay, so we're going to get 184 inches squared. All right, this last one, you have two shapes. You have a square, and you have a square and a rectangle. So you have to find the area of both of them, but then it only wants the area of the shaded region. So then once you know this one, you're going to subtract it from the area of the rectangle. So I'm definitely pulling out my calculator here. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is I want to do my rectangle. So I'm going to do length times width. So you're going to do 12 and 75/100 times 8 and 8/10. So you're going to do 12 and 75/100 times 8.8. And you're going to get 112 and 2/10. Okay, then you're going to take, give me 1 second, because now I remembered where I messed up here. We need to find, okay, so here's the issue. Oops, okay. This is 4.4 and 25/100. This is not. So you have to find that side right there where I put the little question mark. Okay, so what I need to do is I need to add up 2.5 and 2.5, which is going to give you 5.0. Okay, so now this whole thing is 8.8. So you're going to take 8.8 and you're going to subtract 5 from it. And you're going to get 3.8. Okay, so now see this rectangle in here, we're going to do 4. Now you can see why I was like, oh, I'm getting the calculator for this one. So you get 4 and 25/100 times 3 and 8/10. So you need to multiply those two, which is what I'm going to do right now. Okay, so we're taking 4 and 25/100 times 3.8, and you get 16 and 15/100. Now you need to subtract, because the area of this right here is 16 and 15/100. You need to take it away from the whole entire area in order to find the shaded. So you have 112 and 2/10, and I'm going to add a 0 here, and then you're going to take 16 and 15/100 away from it. So I will go old school here and actually, so you're going to go 10, take away 5, and you get 5, and then you get 0, and then 11, take away 6. Why do I feel like, I hope I have the right answer. And then 10 take away 1. Okay, so I have 95 and 500ths. But just to be on the safe side, I'm going to check myself before I stop this recording, because this is the last one. So let me check my answer. I don't know why I'm feeling like the answer is 96. It is 96. Okay, so you guys probably caught my mistake. So let's check it one more time. I'm thinking I messed up in my subtraction. So let's take 112 and 2/10, take away 16 and 1500ths. Yeah, so this is supposed to be, I know, okay, so I know what I did wrong right here. When I borrowed, this was, okay, I know what I did wrong. So this was going to come to 0. Okay, so I just messed up. Oops. I just messed up on my subtracting. I'm telling you, that problem, I saw it coming a mile away and thought, I'm going to mess this problem up. Even though I know the steps and I know what I need to do, I'm going to somehow mess up my multiplication or my subtraction. So, again, you find the area for both and you subtract. So then this is 96. And the shaded, that little shaded area is 96 and 5/10 meters squared. And that's it for this lesson. I highly suggest you either go back through this video again, or hopefully you took good notes, because it's going to be the same type of problems on the on Think Central for the most part.